Hey, so I haven't put out a video in a little while, a couple months, because it is February in Montana. Let me show you out here. You can see out there it's snowy and nasty. It's been cold. I put out a brief video about a failed launch that I had where the wind blew my wing upside down because the wind shifted 180, and it was such a negative short video that I decided I didn't want to put out just really negative content like that, so I deleted it after I watched it. After I posted it, I went ahead and deleted it. But right now I've got some stuff to do on my paramotor, which is right here. And with this, I am going to change out some gaskets because this thing is leaking. And it's leaking here on this gasket, which is the cylinder base gasket, and it's leaking on this gasket, which is the exhaust manifold gasket. And since I have to take the head off to get to that, I'm going to go ahead and replace this head gasket, which is an O-ring. And I got the kit from Aerolite, is the name of the company. And I believe they're in Florida. I'd have to look at the address again. But I've ordered stuff from them before, and they send it to you, and they get it to you quick, and they're reliable. And I can get all my air conception parts through them, so that's pretty great. I think they have to order it from France. But here's the 3 gaskets I'm going to replace. And I have a very small kit here that I keep in my coffee can here. Just some parts that I use to work on my paramotor. New spark plug, torque wrench, spark plug gapper, and that's a size that I need right here. This socket, this is a 13 millimeter. The spark plug's a 21 millimeter. And I have a half and a 10 millimeter wrench that I use. A little bar here that I use for leverage for torquing down the belt. But anyway, I'm going to do some work on this and try to record some of it, and hopefully it'll be good content. I'm trying to keep from bursting into flames in flight, and since this is leaking fuel and oil out of this spot and this spot, it drips down onto this exhaust pipe, which, you know, it's gas oil mixture. It's flammable. It's on a hot exhaust pipe, and it's roughly, what is that, about 2.5 inches from my plastic fuel tank. A little unnerving. I've flown with it that way probably 3 flights or so, 3 or 4 flights with it just kind of dripping here and there. It's just a couple of drops. You know, I figure if it did light up, it'd probably real quickly just burn off of there. But just having a leak of any kind, especially fuel oil dripping onto the exhaust pipe, it makes me a little nervous. So I'm gonna deal with it, and I'll try to record as much as I can, and hopefully come up with some good content here. All right. See you in a few. Okay, so I downloaded, I think this is airconception.com or something. Anyway, I downloaded their PDF, and boy, I don't know if you can see that with all the glare and stuff in here. But anyway, it says on this manual, oh, the screen just went blank. It says that the spark plug is 26 Newton meters of torque is what I want on that. And the cylinder head nuts is 23 Newton meters. So I now know what I need to retorque that spark plug to, and what I need to retorque these cylinder head nuts to when I put this all back together. Those are the 2 torques I need to know to get this job done. Also, it said that the spring length of these needs to be 10 millimeters when I put this back together. The exhaust manifold springs. That's probably why I have that 10 millimeter wrench. I'm probably just using the gap on that as a gauge. So I'm sure that's why I have that. Also, I believe this nut was a 10 millimeter as well. So it serves as a measurer and as my 10 millimeter wrench. And then I use an Allen wrench for this part. That's why I have that 10 millimeter wrench in my kit. So, and then the 13 millimeter, which is the same as a 1/2 inch wrench, does the head bolts, and I believe it also does these, fits on these exhaust manifold bolts. So, between the 21 millimeter wrench for the spark plug, or socket for the spark plug, and the 13 millimeter socket for the head bolts and exhaust manifold bolts, I literally, those 2 sockets I can get this whole job done with those 2 sockets and my torque wrench. I will check these exhaust manifold spring lengths right now since I'm doing this, but I don't even have to do that because I'm just taking this gasket off, so I'm not even going to be messing with this, but I will check those as I put all this back together. Okay, 2 sockets. I'm going to go ahead and pull this apart, and then I'll show you what it looks like after I get it apart. I'm going to take the spark plug out. I don't know if that's necessary, but I'm going to take the spark plug out because when I go to pull this apart, I think that would create a vacuum inside here and make it impossible to pull apart. So if I take the spark plug out, it won't create a vacuum in here, so I'll be able to take it apart easier. I don't even know if you could without taking the spark plug off. So, just what I'm thinking. I haven't actually tried it with the spark plug in, but I think I'm just going to take it out to prevent that from happening. Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to mention that I was able to use the 13 millimeter socket to get these head nuts off, and the 21 millimeter to get the spark plug out. However, to get this exhaust manifold off, the 13 millimeter socket would not fit up in here because there's not enough room for the socket to fit. But a 1/2 inch, which is the same as a 13, but a 1/2 inch spanner wrench, or you could call it an open end wrench, that you can fit on these the exhaust manifold nuts. So you have to use a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter open end wrench, spanner wrench, in order to get the exhaust manifold off. So that's a 3rd tool that you'll need. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off, and then I will show you it taken apart. I'm going to look at the pistons and rings and cylinder for scoring, and if everything's good, I'll put it back together with new gaskets. If it's not, then I'll have to order whatever parts I need to order for that, cylinder, piston rings. Hoping I don't have to do that. It'd be, I think it's $220 for the cylinder and rings, or the piston and rings, and then I'd also have to get a cylinder at least. So that'd be another, I don't know how much money the cylinder was. I didn't see that on their website, but $220 for the piston and the rings if I have to replace those. So I'm hoping I don't have to replace those. All right, I'll show you when I get that far. All right, well, I just found something really, really unexpected. I took this cylinder head off, and it has a blown head gasket in 2 different spots. There's about an 1/8 inch gap and about a 1/16 inch gap in this O-ring. It's completely broken. You won't be able to see it on the GoPro, but yeah, it's got a blown head gasket. And I've been flying it like that. It has had some sputtering issues lately on the last couple of flights, but I mean, I flew it for a half hour on my last flight, and it sputtered a little bit and stuff, but I can't believe it was even running with a blown head gasket like that. Any vehicle I've had with a blown head gasket, it quits running. So that's interesting. But I got a new gasket for that, so I'm gonna replace that, and that'll fix that issue. So now I'm just gonna look at the rest of the piston and cylinder and see how they look. All right, so I took these two nuts off of the exhaust manifold, and since they're nuts and a bolt comes out of the exhaust manifold, I have to lower this exhaust pipe in order to pull the cylinder out, because these bolts stick down through the holes. Well, the bolts stick down through the holes, so all I did was remove the nuts. So this whole exhaust manifold has to drop out of the way in order to get the cylinder off, because these bolts are in the way. I'll try to get a little closer view of that so you can see what I'm talking about. See, these bolts here are sticking down through here, so I have to pull this down. I can't pull it down far enough to clear those bolts. So I'm going to remove this whole exhaust manifold. I could take these out and just remove this little bit, or these and remove this whole piece here. But I think it's going to be easier just to remove these two mounting bolts or nuts, these two mounting nuts that hold the whole exhaust manifold on. That way I don't have to mess with all this 10 millimeters on each one of these springs. You know, if I take all those off and have to put them all back together, it's just going to be time consuming and annoying. So I'm going to take the whole exhaust off with these two nuts here, which means I had to break out another tool. I just got my Milwaukee ratchet here with an extension, so I can reach all the way back here past the prop and pull those two nuts off. And I'll have to torque those back on. I'll have to find the torque spec for them in my downloaded manual on my phone. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll pop this off, and then I'll pull the cylinder off, and I'll show you what I find once I pull the cylinder off. Okay, to get this top bolt here without pulling the belt pulley off and everything, I actually had to use this universal joint adapter thing, or U-joint. Gosh, I'm not even sure what that's called, but anyway, it's this little bendy part that goes on my ratchet and socket. I want to call it a universal joint. Maybe that's the right terminology, I'm not sure. But anyway, I had to use that to get behind that, so that's what I'm doing. Alright. Okay. I just took this entire exhaust off. We're going to have this whole pair motor in pieces by the time I'm done. Anyway, I'll just set that here on my counter. I still think that that's going to be the easiest way to get this cylinder off here. So now I've got that out of the way, and I can just pull this whole cylinder off. So I'll do that and take a look at the pistons and stuff. Okay. So I just wanted to show, I just kind of pushed with my thumb on that bolt and kind of wiggled this a little bit. It's coming right off with basically no pressure at all, really. It's just, well, kind of snagged up here. Anyway, I'm getting it. It's coming off pretty easy. there's the rings. And see, just took the cylinder off. I'm looking in here and I don't see any significant scoring at all. Just by looking at it, there's no scoring. So thank God about that. Here, I don't know if you can see in there okay. The lighting in here is not fantastic. No scoring. So I'm probably going to be able to just put this right back together. And that new head gasket. I mean, I can't even believe that I found that head gasket was blown. So the piston itself looks pretty good. Let me feel it with my finger. It feels slightly rough, to be honest, on the exhaust side, but not enough to replace it yet. I mean, we're talking, yeah, there's no scoring. There's no scoring, but I can feel a tiniest little bit of roughness. And then the part that I am concerned about is the top of the piston has a lot of carbon buildup on it. The very top of the piston. That's kind of bothering me. Here, I'll see if you can. Ooh. So the top of the piston here, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but this has a lot of carbon buildup on it. That right there bothers me. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do about that. The rest of the piston looks good, so just the top of it looks like it's got that carbon buildup. And that might have something to do with the fact that it had a blown head gasket. I might be able to try to clean that off of there. I feel like it's just surface carbon buildup. I don't know. I might research that a little bit. I've never cleaned off a piston before like that. So, but as far as significant scoring, I don't really see anything. The head has a little bit of carbon buildup in it as well. Probably from that blown head gasket, I think was probably causing that. So, or maybe the buildup caused the blown head gasket, I don't know. I really think I can clean that up and reuse it. I hate to just completely replace the head and piston and everything just because it's got some carbon on it. I think I can clean that off and reuse it until it blows up, and then I'll replace it, you know, until it fails. Or maybe just get, 20 hours out of it, 10 hours out of it, and then replace it before it finally fails on me. Anyway, I took it apart, looked at it. It's obvious that it needs some attention, so I'm gonna research cleaning this stuff, and then I may or may not. I probably won't be able to put it back together today because I need to clean that off before I put it back together. So I'm gonna research how to do that, and then I'll show you that in a second when I continue with this video. All right.